So good morning, I'm Jane Morgan and thank you for joining us today for the Moab Minerals Investor Webinar. With a focus on the Rex Uranium Vanadium project in Colorado, Moab Minerals, formerly known as Delecta Limited, has recently recommenced trading on the ASX following a successful capital raise and the acquisition of 2 new projects. Today, I'm joined by our Managing Director, Malcolm Day. Malcolm, I'll hand over to you to run through the presentation.
Thanks, Jane. Okay, so should we just go straight to page 3, I think. Thanks, Dave. This is just in summary where we're at with the company. Obviously, we've been in suspension since February. We've done a fair few things since then. Primarily, we've disposed of the wholesale business. We've acquired 2 assets in northwestern Australia, targeting gold and base metals. But essentially, the company's main focus is the Rex project, which is in Colorado. And look, the company only has 727 million shares in issue, and at 1.7 cents caps the company just over 12 mil. So that basically highlights. Let's move to page 4. Thanks, Dave. We've got 3 directors with significant resource experience. We've got a low market cap. Again, about 12 mil. We've got circa 8 mil in the bank. That includes the value of the European lithium shares, which we currently hold on the largest shareholder, just over 10%. So plenty of incentive for me to ensure that the company does well. Jason Peterson from CPS, he's just gone over the 5% threshold as well. Okay, so again, the company's been suspended since February. It's been a long drawn-out process, but we've acquired 2 really quite good projects in northwestern Australia, the Woodlands project and the Mount Amy project, both prospective for gold and base metals. And the Woodlands project is a granted EL, and Mount Amy isn't granted yet, but we're just going through that process and we expect it to be granted soon. Okay, so out of those 2 projects we've acquired, the Woodlands project shows the most promise. So obviously, again, reiterating, the Rex Uranium project is our main focus. Our second focus, however, is this Woodlands gold and metal base metals project. It's very prospective for base metal mineralisation, very similar to the Abra style deposit, which is 60 kilometres to the east of Woodlands project. It's within the Edmund Basin, which is a sedimentary basin. Again, that Woodlands, it's very underexplored. There's a lot of historic data which we've been able to compile, essentially to determine targets. And there's a number of untested targets at depth, particularly, which we'll be focusing on. And again, there's just go through. We've had a few of the larger mining companies explore it over the years, but again, our geologist here in Perth, Jeff Balfe, believes that drilling hasn't gone down to target depth, so there's still plenty of opportunity there for exploration. Just going back a few steps again. The Woodlands project's only 60 kilometres to the west of the Abra deposit. The Abra deposit's a substantial lead, zinc and copper deposit. Woodlands is on the same, was in the same structural setting and the same geological corridor. There's a fault line which runs east-west, and Abra and Woodlands are on that same fault. So we think there's a significant opportunity there for discovery of a base metals type resource. So Mount Amy is in northwest of Western Australia. It's one exploration licence, a big area, 155 square kilometres. We expect it to be granted soon. It's highly prospective for gold. So Mount Amy is located on the same structural corridor as the Paulsens and Mount Olympus gold deposits. We've had some of the historic data. We've analysed them. There's been some gold discovered in one of those samples. And in one of the other samples, there's been some base metals. So we think the project's certainly got some exploration legs from a gold and base metals perspective. So again, with Mount Amy, whilst there's been some soil sampling over it, and some minimal or drill holes down to less than 20 metres in depth, there has been essentially no subsoil exploration. And look, there's certainly the pathfinders at the surface which demonstrate that the project's highly prospective for gold and base metals. So that's our third project on the list of priorities. Yeah, so essentially with Mount Amy, as soon as we, and it's not dissimilar to the same sort of exploration program which we're going to do with Woodlands. As soon as we can get it on the ground, we'll have geologists up there and field assistants doing soil sounding and surface mapping, and we'll then assimilate those sort of results in the office with the ultimate objective being trying to define some drill targets as soon as possible for Mount Amy as well as Woodlands. Okay, so let's step through our US exploration projects. Rex is at the top of the list for a very good reason. Obviously, uranium has been brought to the fore at the moment, but it's a uranium vanadium project. And there's two other projects which we've had for a while as well: the Speedway project and the Highline project. Look, uranium has obviously been brought to the fore, particularly in the last few months, certainly this year, for a number of reasons. Without going through each of those points there, effectively we have a very supportive US government. They've recently announced plans to spend US 10 billion supporting their domestic uranium industry, including acquiring 1.5 US billion of domestically produced uranium over the next 10 years. So that support of government certainly helps someone like Moab exploring for uranium over there. Okay, so let's give a bit more of an overview. And again, reiterating, the Rex project is the company's focus, and we see a lot of upside. It's a brownfields project, and there's a lot of historic production there. And back pre-70s, 1952 was the epicenter of the uranium boom in the US when Charlie Steen developed the Moab mine. Interesting note, there's a great little handbook which I've read all about Charlie Steen. It's a great story. But look, the uranium which was mined in that area, in the Uravan mineral belt, it's high grade, particularly compared to areas like Australia or deposits in Australia and Africa. Actually, one point I should have brought up on the previous page, no need to go back to Dave, just that the only operating mill in the US, the uranium vanadium mill, is the White Mesa mill. That's located within trucking distance of our project. What it means then is if we're able to find an economic resource, then there's an opportunity there to do toll treatment. At the moment, they're only running at 10% capacity. So a significant opportunity for toll treatment. Just means that our potential capex, if we discover a economic deposit, is far cheaper. So just looking at the grades we've had, so we've had a number of soil sampling and rock chip sampling sort of exercises through the project. We've had some very high grade samples come through, up to 0.5% uranium, and also with a significant credit for vanadium as well. The vanadium at the moment is the sample results we have almost make it economic in its own right without the uranium. But the area as a whole, if you go back with all the historic mining, the average grade mined in the Uravan mineral belt is 0.24% uranium, with over 1% for vanadium as well. So the Uravan mineral belt, that straddles Utah and Colorado. It's had a significant history of uranium mining, and again, it's a brownfields project. there are numerous old mines which were mined, uranium mines, which were mined up until the 70s, when the price of uranium became or was depressed and become economic for mining. So at least we, the REX project, we know there's mineralisation there by virtue of the existing mines and also by virtue of our field sampling exercises. Now we just need to get on the ground as soon as we can and start drilling. But the only takeaway from here really is that the host mineral is carnotite. It's yellow, very visible. I visited the project. There's plenty of rocks at surface, and where I've been able to look inside some of the old shafts, etc. There's yellow everywhere, so don't really need to be a geologist to determine or to see the existing mineralisation. Makes it a little bit easier. Okay, it's the Speedway. So the Carlin trend goes up on a northeastern sort of direction through Nevada, and then it spills into Utah as well. We believe the Speedway project is on the northern end of this Carlin trend. The Long Canyon gold mine is owned by Barracks and Newmont. It's one of their most profitable gold mines in the world. That was actually discovered by Jeff Balfe, the geologist, and coincidentally Jeff Balfe works for us as our consulting geologist here in Perth. He believes there's a lot of similarities with the geology between Long Canyon and also at Speedway. There's exactly the same pathfinders at Long Canyon as there is at the Speedway. We've had a number of sampling programs over the last year or so, and basically to help us determine some drill targets. There's been a lot of historic exploration over the years at Speedway with some of the majors. We've been able to acquire a lot of the historic exploration. There hasn't been a lot of drilling, which is great, but there's been a lot of rock chip sampling. We've also conducted a couple of field exercises as well. We have another geologist going back out there soon to do a further field survey, and also some more sampling in an effort to define some drill targets. Ultimately, we want to be able to drill there as soon as we can. In saying that, we don't want to drill for the sake of drilling. We need to have a very compelling reason to spend money to put holes in the ground there. Okay, so Highline. Highline's a little bit more unusual compared to other projects. We actually own the ground at Highline. It's about 48 kilometres outside of Vegas. So essentially that means rather than apply to BLM for drilling approvals, etc., we own the ground. We've got a clear environmental conditions, etc., but it makes it a lot easier to explore the project when we actually own the property. It's highly prospective for copper and cobalt. In fact, the area was mined 1917 to 1921. Very high grades for copper and cobalt back then. There's a number of other copper cobalt mines within walking distance from the project as well. I've actually walked through the project myself about 4 o'clock in the morning last summer, given it was so hot. But the project is certainly has an opportunity there, or certainly a great opportunity for the company. However, in saying that, it's probably one of our it's not our priority. So these basically this slide just essentially goes through the historic grades. They're unbelievable grades for copper and certainly for cobalt as well. Noting that back in 1917 to 21, the types of mining, small scale mining, of course, the grade's going to be a lot higher than, and not necessarily representative of large scale mining. But look, at least the projects in an area with known cobalt, copper, and base metal exploration, or should I say, mineralisation. We need to get back out in the ground soon and do another field mapping and soil sampling exercise with a view for defining some drill targets as soon as we can. Well, this is my mate Paul Lloyd, who we acquired the project from a couple of years ago. That's the mine shaft in the background. And the slide on the left, you can see the green there, basically a native copper, malachite or etc. So that's it in a nutshell, guys. The key takeaways are we've acquired two projects in Western Australia, Prospective for gold and base metals. Woodlands is our focus of those two projects, but our hero project at the moment is the Rex uranium vanadium project in the US. That's in a brownfields. It's a brownfields project with numerous uranium mines there that haven't been mined since the 70s. But we'll be back on the ground there soon, finalising our exploration efforts just at surface. But we're almost in a position now to submit our drill application to the BLM in Colorado. We expect to lodge that next month. Once we've lodged it, we'll be in a better position to determine when we can start drilling at Rex project.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for that, Malcolm. And if shareholders do have any questions, I encourage you to use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. I will kick off quickly now. So, Malcolm, when do you expect to receive the drilling permit for Rex? And after it is received, how long do you anticipate before drilling commences?
Okay. So we've almost finalised the application to submit to Colorado BLM, and we expect to put that in within the next few weeks, definitely next month. Once we've got it in there and we're in the system, we won't get an exact date, but we'll certainly have a much better feeling for when we expect the drill permit approved. We don't see any impediments. There's no environmental impediments which we can see at the moment. We've had 3 different drilling companies walk the ground, drive the ground with our local geologists over there the last few weeks. I'm just going through the terrain and getting a better understanding of the project in anticipation of drilling as soon as we can.
Thank you. Just another one's popped up. So although Rex is the main focus, when do you expect to start exploration on the other projects? Okay,
so we need to, well, for Woodlands, we need to clear the native title agreement, which we're just going through that process now. Similarly with Mount Amy, we need to clear native title. There's one objection which we've asked to be taken off, and we expect to have that granted very soon. So we'd expect to get on the ground within the next few months, definitely at Woodlands, and probably not long thereafter at Mount Amy. And again, that first exercise is going to be soil sampling. We've already determined some targets. We've done a significant amount of work in the office, compiling or using all the historic data to determine target areas, and we'll get back out in the field, more soil sampling, more surface mapping with a view for defining some drill targets as soon as we can.
Thank you. And so what excites you most about Rex?
Well, I've been to the project. I've seen the yellow. I've picked up rocks with the geologist. I've seen the uranium and vanadium there as well. So, you know, in contrast to a lot of other projects I've been to, you don't really see anything. So Rex is in an area where, you know, it's 5,000 acres. There's numerous small-scale uranium or historic uranium mines on there. It's a brownfields opportunity. We know there's mineralisation there. The first drill holes we do will be in known mineralisation. We'll continue stepping out so we can see the extent of the mineralisation. And of course, apart from lithium, uranium's the flavour of the month at the moment. And I think, world leaders have realised now, and Joe Biden as well, that the world needs uranium to achieve their very ambitious greening targets and emission targets. It's the only way they can achieve them, essentially. So, and the US is a very supportive government. That's going to help, certainly with BLM approvals and other approvals to assist us in exploration, ultimately, hopefully mining.
So thanks again for joining us for the Moab Minerals Investor Webinar. If you've got any further questions, please feel free to reach out via the contact details on the bottom of our ASX announcements. Thank you for your time.